Welcome to the Tiger Nexus Podcast, a place where you'll find interviews with content creators and geeks alike. Your host, Tiger, has delved upon the Nexus and found interesting content creators and geeks of all fandoms. This podcast is connected to the Zero to Hero Network. And now, we dive in with another episode!
Hello everybody and welcome to the Tiger Nexus podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Tiger, and today I think this is the episode I've been most looking forward to for a long time. I've been a fan for many years. The two people I'm talking to today are behind the 5 years later comic book and motion comic. You might have seen the And Beyond animation series on YouTube, and of course you might have seen the Ben 10 breakdowns. I am talking to two members of the Ink Tank, specifically Kuro the artist and O.R.Ash. Hello boys, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for that wonderful introduction, and
that was
happy to be
good.
here.
I'm surviving. I'm here. Hi, everyone.
I like that I'm just surviving. Question, what does surviving look like for you?
My existence.
That's great. So yeah, I'm gonna ask a very basic question first, and I'll go to Kuro first, but I'll ask you both the same question. What got you into drawing? Because obviously both you are artists, and you know that's kind of like your main sort of passion at the moment. So Kuro, what kind of got you into being an artist?
You know, I honestly can't remember. It's been a part of my life as long as my earliest memory. Like, I've always been drawing my entire life just out of impulse. It just felt like second nature to me. Ironically, I did not see myself having an artistic career until well after high school. It was just something I did for fun, like drawing my friends and drawing little doodles here and there, fan art and all of that. But then I started finding some notoriety online when I posted my artwork, and it sort of escalated into where we are now.
Yeah, I find when it comes to artwork especially, you know, I find a lot of artists can't really pinpoint the exact moment they're like, yep, I want to draw, because drawing is a hobby first, you know, before it's something that kind of can escalate. So yeah, Ash, same question. What kind of got you into being an artist?
I mean, honestly, long and short of it was probably how you said it started as a hobby. I was obsessed with cartoons as a kid, and growing up, I just always wanted to make cartoons because they're just fun, and I love the way they made me feel. I wanted to be able to create that same like little spark in someone else's head by making my own cartoons one day. I know in elementary school, like I started like getting super into art because during the lunch time of the day, people would see me like doodling Pokemon or Danny Phantom or something, and they'd be like, "Hey, I'll give you my chicken nuggets if you draw me and a Squirtle." And I essentially started doing commissions through elementary school for chicken nuggets and stuff at lunch, and later on, like in high school and stuff, I got super into anime and manga. At one point, I like seriously tried to like become a mangaka and everything. And towards the end of high school, stuff just wasn't really working out art wise, so I stopped for like 2 years. But then the passion was reignited by Mr. Kuro the artist here, because I randomly started watching Ben 10 again and just started putting fusion doodles online, and then he hit me up, and it's been this sense of just drawing stuff nonstop for the last, like, how long's it been, Rob? Since like 2018?
Oh yeah, just about.
2017,
yeah, we're going on
maybe?
year 7 or 8. It's kind of just
Jeez.
existence now. It's hard to even really
Yeah.
pinpoint the start of it. It feels so natural.
See, that's one of, like, I think as a fan of the Ink Tank, because I've been watching Ink Tank since I think it actually might have been your Can Ben 10 beat Goku and Superman video way back when. I think that's kind of the video that made me go, hang on, there's someone who likes Ben 10 just as much as me. I have to follow these people, you know, because Ben 10 is one of my favorite cartoons. I have a 6-year-old, and he's kind of seen snippets of Ben 10 here and there. I cosplay Ben 10 too, so like he's seen me in the outfit and things. And I've said to him, look, let's just finish the season of Pokemon we're on, and I'll see if we can get him into Ben 10 because I think he'll really like it. And one thing that I've noticed is, you know, you guys are really good friends. You guys have this like really cool chemistry together. You've done some breakdowns together, and it just feels like you've been best friends forever. And the fact it's only been like 7 years, 8 years, that's like actually kind of mental.
Oh yeah, only 7 or 8 years. Like that's honestly like one of the longest lasting friendships I've had in life, I guess, in general. The only thing longer would be my buddy Ignis. I've known since high school.
Yeah, I'd have to agree to that. Like I've had many people come and go throughout my life, mostly just from moving around a lot. So it's a lot easier to maintain like an online relationship because of the ease of access. And yeah, it does kind of feel like we have like that lifelong connection despite only really being together like about a third of our lives at this point. But I think that's just a testament to our chemistry and our shared interests, and the fact that we're able to make some stuff together is just a cherry on top.
Plus the scarcity of Ben 10 fans in our IRL lives probably
Right.
helped the
Right. It's like, yeah, we have a pretty fair amount of subscribers and viewers, but then you go outside and you're just like, well, where is everybody?
people are like, what's an Omnitrix?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I understand that because I've got a friend who lives in America. We've never actually met in person yet, but we've been friends for a good couple of years. And I'm a story writer. I turn my stories into audio dramas for people to listen to. And I grew up not having a single friend that wrote stories, was into like Ben 10 or Marvel and DC or anime or anything. I was the biggest geek in school and things. And then when I met him, we instantly clicked because not only were we into the same games, TV shows, movies, comic books, and that sort of stuff, but we had this one passion that we shared. And so, like, yeah, I can relate to what you're saying about that sort of thing. I find the friendships that you guys can bond over when you have that like one unique thing that's between the two of you. I feel like they're the like sort of best sort of friendships to have because it's a passion that you can go up to someone and go, hey, this is what I've done, look at this, and the other person will be like, hey, that's absolutely really cool. So I respect that. So when it comes to 5 years later, which has been a thing that you guys have been working on for what seems like, I'm sure for Kuro, a millennia, because you're always working on it in some way or another. What kind of inspired you to, turn this idea you had of Danny Phantom and Ben 10 meeting into something that people can read, and then what people can watch, because you've also turned it into a motion comic?
Yeah, so it was kind of a hybrid of two angles I was trying to accomplish. The first one, which I've told this story quite a few times, so I'll just keep it brief here. Danny Phantom was still in a highlight of resurgence online. A lot of fans are growing up, posting their own videos. And there was an effort to try to get a revival going, and I felt like I wanted to contribute to that. But since the series was long over, I was like, well, what if I created something that fans can find interested and create conversations about, and do what I can to try to breathe a little bit more life into the fandom. Maybe it would generate enough buzz to get something going. And as we were just joking about being Ben 10 fans, it's kind of hard to find other people of that interest, or at least it used to be. So I figured, Ben 10 and Danny Phantom just naturally kind of go hand in hand. Teen superheroes from the 2000s era with supernatural fantasy wish fulfillment. It seemed like they clicked, and I figured, I love crossovers. If I could throw Ben 10 into there, maybe it can open more people up to the show. But the other angle is just, I've been making stuff online for however long, and I wanted to create a comic that I would be able to see from start to finish. I have an endless list of projects I've began that never completed. So I was like, I want to create something that I know for sure will be 100% done at some point in time. something I'm familiar with, something that's easy for me to write for, and I love these characters. So writing for Ben and Danny seemed like it just made sense. So I figured if I can create a comic, not only can it serve a decent purpose, but it can also be an accomplishment in something I haven't done a series this long that ever reached a grand conclusion. So this will be the first, and I'm looking forward to it.
As like I said, as a fan, I'm very much looking forward to it. I've actually done reaction videos to every single motion comic episode you've done so far, and I've geeked out like hell. I must look like an absolute dimwit online, but I don't care. I can't wait to see kind of like how it concludes and everything. I really like the angle you went with, because you're using Eon, who, you know, is one of the characters that kind of gets retconned. It's kind of confusing what they did there, because obviously he's a movie villain, but then, yeah, let's not get into Eon, he's just confusing. But you did something new with him, and now he's not only, like, you know, a top dog supervillain, but he's now, like, multiversal level supervillain. You know, he's gone from, you know, I wouldn't say street level, because obviously he can jump through time, but he's gone from low to, like, Thanos wiping everyone away from Avengers type deals, you know. So yeah, you've managed to create something big time. And when it comes to my 5 year later reactions, I think they're the videos that I get the most kind of like response to. Like I've had loads of comments and people talking to me about it and like all sorts of things. So yeah, you've made an impact for sure on, I think, more Ben 10 fans, but yeah, just in general, I think you've made an impact with this.
Yeah, I certainly didn't see the Ben 10 fandom resurgence coming when I created this. It sort of flipped entirely with a 180. Now 5YL and by extension the Ink Tank is very dominated by Ben 10 fans, which I'm thankful for. And now a lot of people are confused why Danny's there sometimes. They're like, well, why is Danny even part of the story? I'm like, well, I didn't see this coming, to put it simply. Like, I wanted it to get attention, but you know, you can never truly predict the future. But yeah, I'll have to check out your reactions sometime. That's awesome. Thanks for checking out the series.
Honestly, I react to trailers and music videos and stuff. I was like, I want to react to something YouTube, you know, something that's on YouTube. And I was a fan anyway. I was like, do you know what? It'd be really cool if I react to these. There'll be long reaction videos, sure. You know, I'm gonna want to break it down and talk about it and stuff, and I'm not able to actually own the comic properly at the minute, so I was like, hey, fuck it, let's react to the motion comic. And it's really well. How long does one like episode take? Like, let's take away everything else, so you know, you're not doing breakdowns, you're not doing and beyond or anything. If you were just going to focus on an episode of the motion comic, how long are we talking? Because obviously I know that it's a heavy, you know, it's a heavy job. It's not something easy.
Right, so the first 11 episodes were a lot easier because all of the artwork was already done. And I was trying to force myself to keep it relatively simpler than how it ended up going later. But I was still learning a lot as I'm editing it. I feel like I have to teach myself like 3 or 4 new tricks every week just to pull off something. So the learning curve definitely weighs in to the time it takes to create it. And especially these last few chapters, which I'm drawing as I'm editing. So it's been taking quite a while. I would say at this point, you know, we're what, six months deep into this year. And I've been working on it every free second I've been able to, and it's still got a ways to go. Because, you know, we're trying to really send it off in the best manner that we can. So tons of effects. We have some guest animators coming on board. We actually recorded all of the audio first before I drew the panels so that I can match the artwork to the voice actor's performance. So it's taken as long as it needs to. It's really hard to put a number on it. So far, we've been working on it since like 2022. So it's been about 3 years, and we got the final 3 episodes in production pretty well away. So I would say that combined with And Beyond the movie coming out, we're making great progress, but we're still far from the release of any of these finales.
Yeah, and I respect the grind, and it's actually really clever. Actually, the fact that you went, lines first, so then you can match the comic book. That's actually like a really clever way to do it. Like the process. That's actually really cool. I didn't actually think of that way sort of doing it. That's clever. You mentioned Ambient, and I do really like Ambient. I do plan on reacting to that too, because I've actually had people request me to react to that, because I like talking about your designs, and I like mentioning, like, because obviously you've made up your own aliens, and you've had people like pay you guys to draw their stuff, and they're included, and all sorts of things. So I have spoken about your artwork, which I love, and so people keep saying to me, "Hey, you might want to react to And Beyond, because that's also really cool." So what was the idea behind And Beyond? Because obviously, you're exploring what could be the lore of Ben 10, but like, what kind of got you into actually doing that?
So, And Beyond was created purely out of spite. Um, First and foremost. Yeah, no, I've obviously loving Ben 10 while I was growing up and seeing things throughout the series, like the little lore bits they would drop in dialogue, as well as like the pop-ups throughout the original series run. And they expand on some stuff later on in UAF and Omniverse, but like I wanted to know more. I'm like, why do these species get more development and lore on them, but we don't for this species, and we don't get clarifications or answers for this, or what happens to this character? And I feel like everyone has those feelings with literally any franchise or fandom. I just am very, very. I take things into my own hands whenever I'm like, oh dang. And originally, And Beyond actually just started off of a video, a freeze frame that I made a couple years back, just stating a theory that I had that Atomics and NRG shared a species, that they were both Pripetosians, A and B. And that video ended up like blowing up and did really well. And people wanted me to do it for more species and like see more ideas for the lore and connectivity that I had. And it just kind of snowballed. Like I started writing another video, and then it just kind of snowballed into becoming And Beyond through the production of it. And it's been snowballing ever since into bigger and bigger project. I never once thought when making that Atomics video any of this would have resulted from that. And And Beyond was made of a love of the lore, a want of more, and pure, absolute, unrefined spite.
I love that. That is great.
If I could jump onto that, which I think is kind of interesting with And Beyond, is that it sort of created itself in a sense. Like the first episode was written just to be like a YouTube video, just a regular video essay. And the Horus image was drawn just to be like a little PNG popping up, like how we animate Ash's avatar in the drawing matrix or in videos where I don't do face cam. It was going to be that simple. But when editing it, we started playing around with the idea that, maybe it's like an actual documentary. So I like animated this little Horus flying in. Ryan started having little holographic things pop up. And then once we did it that way and saw the result, we realized like Horus kind of is a character in of itself, and with each episode we build on him more and more, be it his backstory, his functions, his personality. But it was never intended from the ground up to be like an animated mockumentary. It just sort of became that by messing around. Which I think is fantastic. Now we're making a movie.
Evolved.
Yeah.
It's even when we were like a few episodes deep, I was like, we're not gonna have like this is an episodic informational thing. It's never gonna have like a story or something. And then now it's the movie wrapping up the arcing plot, and I'm like, oh god,
yeah,
this came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I love the fact it was just like, like you said, it kind of just made itself, and that's great. I really do like Horus. I think he's kind of cool. I like his design.
Oh, well, thank you.
That was sick. I love the fact you could just do the voice over him. That's great. Yeah, that it's just amazing. Like, I just love again, it's all about the passion, man. You can see the passion in it. When it comes to the movie, obviously, don't spoil anything. That's fine. I respect that. But can you kind of give us a bit of like, what's it about? Why you're making a movie, etc., etc.
Let me think for a second. So essentially, the movie itself, the main point of it is to wrap up the Ziskare plot, because the Ziskare plot ended up like it was introduced like halfway through the series, just originally as just like a cool little fun thing, but then people kind of liked it, so we continued it a little bit more. But when it comes to all the productions that we do and everything, and the fact that I am just slow at production in general, like Ambient episodes come out like once in a blue moon. Like if episodes we were able to rush out more consistently, more frequently, there'd be more with it and we would do more with it. But because of scheduling, because of production, and the fact that we have other projects that we're trying to work on too, like we're doing the movie to like wrap up Zeke in Ambient, because we do plan on still doing Ambient after the movie, but the whole like arcing plot thing is going to be done. This is the finale of it, and that's why the movie is being made, is to be a big grandiose like it's done. We're moving back to just informational episodic things.
Right. Yeah, the movie is essentially all the Ziskare stuff we stick on at the end of episodes. But we wanted to return and beyond back to form, so we were like, well, let's just take all of the plot stuff that we were going to do for the next 5, 6, however many episodes, and just do it all at once. And that way we wrap up the story, but then from that point forward, the story's wrapped up, so and beyond can just be simple and episodic again. Mm-hmm. So it's been quite a while in the making. I think we finally roughed out the full story maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So there's been a lot of thought and a lot of care put into it. There's going to be a lot of returning surprises from previous episodes that sort of tie everything together as well. But it's still an and beyond episode in the end. So, you'll get some lore, you'll get some facts, you'll get some Horus being Horus. But it's certainly this big action-packed epic movie that I can't wait for it to be out so we can talk about it.
Yeah, no, it's really hard not to.
Yeah.
Especially too because us being on hiatus, like people probably notice we've been being a lot more active on our social medias and stuff. Because of the hiatus, we want people to know we're still here, we're still working, and we want to engage and have interactions with everyone so that like relevancy and stuff. But like this stuff, we're grinding on it. We're like sitting in our office by ourselves, just grinding this stuff out as fast as we can. And oh my god, I cannot wait until this is done. I want people to see it. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's the friend that I mentioned that lives in America, he wanted to do a Danny Phantom audio drama because he makes his fan fiction and audio dramas as well. And I've done a few Ben 10 things, and so he said to me, he was like, hey, maybe we could have Danny Phantom and Ben 10 meet each other. And I was like, dude, you need to watch 5 years later. And he's like, huh? So I kind of sent him the link to the first one. He's now watched all of them. He's now a fan of 5 years later. And so like I've told my wife, and I was like, I need to tell someone I'm going to have the fucking ink tank on my podcast. What the flying hell? So I messaged him, was like, dude, 5 years later? And he's like, yeah. I was like, the guys who work on it, I'm going to have them on my podcast. And he's like the only person I've told that, like, isn't in my house, because he's the only person who, one, will understand, but two, I didn't want to, like, tell everybody, because I wanted everyone to see that, like, hey, I've got the ink tank on my podcast. So I was like, I have to tell just one person. And I just told him that I've got you guys.
Trying to keep it low key, but you still got to express the hype to someone. I get it.
Right.
Yeah. So you mentioned socials. You're now on TikTok, and you guys. I love Ash's video where he just like, hey, guess he's got the assigning details to the TikTok account. Love that video. That was great. What's it like being on TikTok and like talking to people and responding to comments and stuff? Are you finding it fun? Is it annoying? TikTok's a bit 50-50 for people, so I really want to hear your thoughts on, kind of being on TikTok.
Rob, you
Yeah,
go
I mean,
first on this.
yeah, Ash has been on TikTok off and on for a few years, so
Yeah.
he's at least like connected to how it works and everything. My geezer ass just learned how to use it last month.
Boomer,
I-
the artist here.
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting the hang of it. It's a lot simpler than I thought, but I was avoiding it for a while just because I was like, oh well, this is just another social media I have to keep up with. But I like it, and it's fun, and it looks like we get a pretty fair amount of discussions going on there, interesting questions, and if there's a lot of things like we could say now where now we don't have to like make an entire video for it. We can just throw up TikTok, answer it in about like 10 minutes or so, throw on a filter, and then boom, that's it, and makes things it offers another avenue for connection with the community that doesn't compromise our production time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, TikTok, sure, it can be a rather weird, strange, alien, negative place sometimes, but it definitely offers that. And like, I was the person who asked you, Ash, about the Pokemon, because I'm a huge fan of your Pokemon videos you drawing
Thank
them.
you.
So I was the person who asked that. And when you actually responded to me, I was like, hey, they're actually responding to like so many people, and it's like really cool the fact that you're answering all different types of questions. I've seen you talk about your Ultimate series that you did because you've recently finished your Ultimate Drawing Matrix, which I can imagine was the pain in the ass drawing all of
Pain in
them.
the legs, if anything.
But yeah, it's just a good way. It's nice to see you guys kind of, like you said, you're on hiatus, which is understandable. You've got all these things going, but again, you're still willing to take a step back. Look, you did a video, Ash, I think it was the other day, where someone said to you, oh, you're on, I thought you guys were on hiatus, how come you're on TikTok and things? And you're like, hey, it takes 5 minutes to respond to people. It's nice to have a break from doing what I'm doing for a couple minutes. So yeah, it's just mad respect for the fact that you're still willing to do all this even though you're busy as hell.
Yeah, no, thank you. Like, in all honesty, it is fun interacting with the community. It's one of the things that motivates me doing all these projects and stuff. And TikTok, at least recently, has been like filling in the niche in my brain of I used to stream on a weekly basis, like doing commissions or just drawing streams in general. And I haven't done them consistently in like the last year or two because of production on stuff. And I would love to come back to streaming, but I don't want it to interrupt the productions. So TikTok is like a good in between, getting like the same interactivity while entertaining people. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. We've actually had the Ink Tank TikTok, I think, for like 2 years. I think, wasn't it made like 2 years ago or something?
It could have been made even longer than before I would upload it. So I would post like shorts that I'd make for YouTube also on TikTok just to see how they would do. But now it's kind of the reverse, because after you make a TikTok, it auto saves to your phone's camera roll. So I'm like, well, now I can post the TikTok to other socials and sort of do a reverse.
Yeah, I like that feature.
Yeah,
I like that feature. That comes in handy. So I mentioned your drawing matrix. I absolutely love the drawing matrix. I think it's great. You kind of gave every alien that we've seen on screen an ultimate. I loved the whole little animation you did where it's like, hey, now you got to do the reboot, and you kind of like no, and yeah, that was great. What was it like, kind of having that dedication, making sure that every on-screen alien that we saw got an ultimate? Did you find it fun, or did it get a bit tedious, or what?
It was a can of worms that I did not expect to happen. I'm gonna be like, again with and beyond, I just kind of was doing it for my own want and need of the information and to express it. But then it just snowballs into this bit. I did not expect that first Ultimates video to pop off so hard that I would end up doing the rest. All of the rest, I'm gonna be fully honest, the reason I did them was because everyone, like the community response to it and everyone wanting me to finish off all the rest. There were some aliens I definitely struggled with, or I'm gonna be honest, that I just didn't really care for very much. Astrodactyl. And I just I didn't have as much of a want as the other ones to make them, but I wanted to still fulfill the community with them, because again, I do think it was really stupid the limited number of aliens that received ultimates in the original show. Like, if you're gonna do only like 5, like I'm not gonna get into it, but it just I know everyone else had the same thing of like, I would have loved to have an ultimate for this one or this one, and so on and so forth. So really, it was a big endeavor that I didn't see coming, but whenever I was standing in the headlights of it, I was fully willing to take the bullet, because I was like, I know people want this. Everyone has been wanting ultimates, and I like drawing, and they like my drawings, so sure, why not? Um, I've even seen some people now of like, can you make ultimates of your ultimates? I'm like, you're pushing it now, Scoob. Like, come on.
Oh Jesus, that would been that is nuts. Did you ever think about giving ultimates to some of the 5 year later exclusive aliens that you guys
Oh,
have
of
made?
course, of course. Again, with the ultimates overhauled, the main big goal of that was getting the original franchise aliens done and out of the way. Am I ever going to do ultimates again for other stuff like Five Whale or other transformations? Maybe at some point, yeah. Am I going to solidify and say yes 100%? No, I'm not going to currently do that because I don't know what the future holds right now. But yeah, I've obviously thought of ultimates for some stuff. I know I've also been commissioned ultimates in the past. Like for instance, I've done a ultimate Irkin and an ultimate Saiyan on commission live streams, which that's technically 2 Five Whale transformations of Lank and Monkey in the bag already. But yeah, no, at some point I'd be willing to do some ultimates. I just gotta make sure things align correctly with production and stuff. And I'm gonna be honest, there's some other projects and stuff I want to do, like gimmick drawing matrices I'd like to do before jumping back into ultimates at some point.
Yeah, see, because like you said that you didn't expect the first one to blow up. I mean, I think when it comes to the ultimate gimmick, like you said, they only gave us like what 5 main ones, and then they kind of gave us like ultimate way big right at the end and all this other stuff. It's just like, he's called Ben 10. At least give us 10, you know.
Yeah,
type thing.
you have the Alien Force playlist, and you only gave like only some of them ultimates, and I was really weirded out by that. I was like, if you're gonna do that, like either give him new aliens and don't do the ultimate gimmick, or if you're doing the ultimate gimmick, follow through with it with the whole playlist and wait to give him aliens to later. But we also got like Wrath and Lodestar and stuff before the ultimates, and then we only got a handful. It was weird. I feel like it was the want of a gimmick and possibly the pressure of like, hey, we need new toys. Like I feel like there was a couple variables that made the ultimates get pushed out in a strange way.
Yeah, and you know, like you said, you might go back to doing, like, for example, the 5 year later ones. I mean, if you're ever stuck on, you know, let's say you've done some more drawing matrix now, you've done some other things, you want to draw something but you're stumped on what to do, at least you've got something in your back pocket to lean back on.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I've got like ideas and gimmicks out the wazoo that I want to do with the drawing matrix that I can fall back to before jumping back on ultimates. So, yeah.
See, as a fan, I think as much as I do love the ultimates that you've done, I've really enjoyed the series and stuff, I'm now looking forward to what else you come up with, because we know that you're good at drawing, we know that like you've got the good mindset to create things. So like, I think as a fan, I'm now looking forward to what else you kind of give us. So I know that I'm looking forward to, you know, other things you can create, as much as I did enjoy the ultimates. Which, like I said, you know, they were cool. You came up with some really cool things, and some of them even got more than one. So,
yeah, that's the fact. I don't know when to quit. Sometimes Rob can attest to this. I bite off more than I can chew, a lot.
I won't comment.
He did like, hey, I'm not getting involved. Okay, so I want to kind of talk about the breakdowns. And Kuro, I have a very important question for the breakdowns. I don't think you've been asked this question yet. Are we gonna get breakdowns for the reboot?
I was gonna say.
Sorry. I saw the video. I saw the video the other day, and I was like, I have to throw that at him. I have to.
That's funny. I was gonna be like, "There's no way," but I mean, I'll answer it. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna do them. Yeah.
I had to throw that at you because I was like, I saw your video that you did on TikTok. You're like, oh, hang on, I've said this multiple times. Yeah, like, you know, I'm gonna do somewhat of the reboot, and I'm like, I had to throw that at you just because I knew it'd tickle Ash as well.
Half the comments on that TikTok are, so are you gonna do the reboot? And I'm like, dude, you're just messing with him at this point. Why are you doing this to this man?
Yeah, people on TikTok, you know, they have no filter. You know, you say something like, I don't know, for example, let's say someone says, "Oh, you know, don't ask me this question again because it's insensitive or whatever." Everyone then just asks that question because, you know, you told them not to. You know, they have no filter. Welcome to TikTok. Okay, so more on a serious note when it comes to the breakdowns. What made you want to break down? Okay, not every single episode's had a full-blown 40-minute breakdown, sure, but what made you want to break down every episode of Ben 10?
It started. It was supposed to just be a strict 18 video series. I would do one video on each season of Ben 10, and you know, depending on how you cut it up between the Prime franchise, there's 18 seasons in total. And I wanted to create some videos. I was trying to not to make any more YouTube videos, period. There was a period of time I was trying to hand off the channel to just Ash, Avery, Hershey, and Kellen, and just be like, hey, I'll edit, but I'm sick of being in the videos. For a number of reasons, a lot of them just being personal ones. But I felt like there was still a demand for content from myself, and I didn't want to make any more videos unless it was something I actually really liked doing. So I was like, well, if I did continue making videos, I don't want to just be shelling out anything. What if I just talked about the series like face value? That's all I really need to do. So I wrote a little script breaking down season 1, and the video was just not getting across what I wanted to. I wanted to just show people how I view the show, because the breakdowns, like, that's how I view everything. It's very annoying inside of my head. Like, so I was like, well, how about this? I'm just going to film myself and say every single thing that pops into my mind, be it about the story, the characters, the art, everything, and then try to highlight the interesting parts and see what happens. And it seemed to, it at least, I didn't know people would mess with it. In fact, I still get a lot of comments where people say I talk way too much in those videos, but at the same time, I felt like these videos did get across what I wanted to say about each episode. And the ranking system was a way to make it a little bit more special than just watching the episodes and moving on. I wanted to create some form of discussion and some sort of continuity between the videos, which is where the ranking system comes from. And then the more I do them, the more it seems people liked the nitpicking. So I started cutting less, well, keeping more and more, like cutting less and less out. Like all of the breakdown recordings in Raw take about 2 or 3 hours. And I just kept leaving more and more stuff in, like, well, what if people liked this discussion? And they do. So now each breakdown for every episode can easily be at least like 30 minutes, unless there's just so much to talk about. And then I've had Ryan on a couple of them, and then I think Kellen has been on like 3. Our VFX artist Crystal was in on 1 to inform me about Secret Saturdays. So it was just a way to try to keep making videos for the people that enjoyed seeing me in them, that didn't feel disingenuous.
Yeah, that I respect that. When it comes to whoever keeps telling you that you talk too much, I mean, it's literally in the title. You're breaking it down. Like how are you meant to break something down without talking about it? That makes no sense.
They just want to use our video to watch the episodes because it's like not streaming anywhere.
And I'm like, look, I can't even do that legally. Nonetheless, I want to just play the full episodes. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they've certainly gotten a lot more elaborate over the years, like also in terms of like performance and production. I do a lot of jokes, I do a lot of gags now. Mm-hmm. But they were originally just supposed to be just my raw thoughts at face value. But over the years, I'm like, well, I could make it a little bit more entertaining. I can throw in some memes, do some jokes, recurring things, and just try to make it a little bit more than just my voice right now talking in monotone for 45 minutes every time.
Dude, you hit the Ken 10 episode and you're like, wait a second, say that again, Kevin.
Kevin?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's like
Kevin gets used quite often.
that's so funny.
The fact that now we have a fucking t-shirt on our store that's just Kevin.
It's become one of the biggest recurring jokes, and I wasn't even thinking anything about it when I was joking about it. I was like, oh, that's funny. He says Kevin when he comes back from the commercial. So like, what would happen if you just put it back to back?
See, because like, you know, as a big geek, I like watching videos where, like, okay, I'll use The Flash, for example, the Flash TV show. I watched someone talk about this earlier. So, you know, I like it when someone takes the time and effort, they make a long video and they're, like, breaking things down, they talk about it and stuff. But one thing that I prefer about your way of doing it is you don't just do story, you talk about, like, the artwork, the animation, you know, how, you know, for example, I think one of your most recent ones, there was like a pipe in the background that had completely not been colored in, so it looked exactly like the wall, but you can tell it's meant to be a pipe, you know, and things like this. I wouldn't have noticed that. Right. I'm just watching Ben 10, you know. I'm not gonna notice that, but I like the fact that you do nitpick and you pull all these little details out. And I'm like, oh wow, I'm not gonna watch this episode normally ever again because that pipe isn't colored in, and my ADHD's gonna really hate that. Thanks, Kuro. Cheers. You know, so. Like it's great. You nitpick at, you know, one of my favorite little side rants you did was when Chromastone gets electrocuted, but several episodes beforehand he absorbed it and it was fine. And it's like little things. I was like, oh my god, I never even noticed that either. He's absorbed electric in one episode, but several episodes later he literally gets fried. How does that make any sense?
Right, and I'm never trying to put down the show. Sometimes I'll play it up a little bit for the video, but it's mostly just because I find these things fascinating. Because it also helps give you an understanding on how shows are made. Because like back to the pipe, like, well, how did that happen? Did the coloring artist forget to color it in? Did the compositor accidentally delete that part of the frame? Was it a just total oversight? Did they try to fix it and the clip didn't get replaced? And stuff like that I find the most entertaining with media is, it, for lack of a better term, just errors or intentional things like Easter eggs, like the production side of it. It's also why I'm perfectly fine with, you know, 5YL and Beyond not being perfect, is just because I'm sure that people who do notice, like, oh, you know, Horace clipped through this character's frame, or oh, there was a typo here. It makes it seem more tangible and lets you know, like, hey, this is a product made by humans. And it, in a way, I find stuff like that inspiring too, where it's just like, well, if I ever do something like that, that's something I can look out for, is clipping or typos and stuff. And I mean, I still make typos all the time. I just can't spell. But I hope people are able to see these things and find the fascination in them that I do. I'm not trying to blame anybody or put down the show or be like, oh, this is trash because the power scaling is terrible. Like I truly don't care that much.
Yeah, see, watching you do the breakdowns and everything, and I'm sure a few people have done this now, I've actually kind of taken, like, the way that you break down stuff and I put it to, like, other things that I watch. Like, you know, I'm a huge fan of crime dramas and things, and I've now noticed, like, slight, you know, editing, like, differences that they kind of fucked up on. I've recently watched Invincible, I've caught up on that, and I'm like, oh, hang on a second, that shouldn't be there, that's colored in wrong, and I've now nitpicked different shows and animes that I'm watching. I'm like, Kuro, you're infectious. God damn it.
Yeah, it's hard. And like, the thing is, I don't even try. Like, I literally cannot stop looking at things like this, even if I wanted to. And it's, you know, for better or for worse, I'm glad that people are entertained by the videos, but it's just, you know, I just love the behind the scenes productions of certain things. I can't help live action shows too, especially you mentioned crime dramas. You know, there's still a ton of fun stuff to look out for. Like if two characters are having a conversation and the character talking is facing away from the camera through an overhead shot, 9 times out of 10 they dub that line, and if you look at their jaw, their mouth isn't moving to whatever you're hearing because they're using that as an opportunity to change the line. and I'm just like, oh, there it is again. And it's little things like that once you start noticing, you can't unsee it. So now whenever somebody's facing away from the camera and talking to somebody, look at their jaw and see if it matches what they're saying.
Yeah, see, I've noticed that as well because there's like certain like episodes I've watched of something and that's happened and you can so tell it's not the person they're meant to be talking to. You can tell like maybe they're the wrong height or their hair doesn't match properly or something, and my instant thought is, yeah, that's a stunt double.
Yep.
You're not talking to that person. That person's not there with you.
In that same vein, something I keep noticing in all shows now is like when people are at a restaurant, the food on their plate, it changes like how much is there, how it's placed, how many
Yes.
bites are out of it, every single like other sentence or camera cut. Like it'll be someone's holding a sandwich that has one bite out of it. It'll cut and then half the sandwich is gone, and it'll cut again and then it's back to just one bite. And I'm like, no. That's
Yeah.
God damn it.
That's not how food works.
I really like that bite. I'm gonna go back for it.
Yeah.
They just like use clockwork, rewind time slightly, and then go back in for a second. Yeah.
A really weird one to look out for that might be a little gross is most of the time actors aren't allowed to swallow the food because if they gotta keep doing takes where they're eating, they'll get full. So there'll be like a spit bucket nearby. So very rarely will you actually see someone in a TV show swallow after they take a bite. Most of the time they'll always cut away so that they can spit the food out. Because like if they're doing a scene where like, oh, Dave eats a whole hot dog in one sentence. But then you got to do that take 6 times. Now this man's sitting here eating 6 hot dogs. So
Yeah, see that I'm gonna look out for that now.
yeah,
Dude, I saw a thing recently that was like, Chris Pratt on the set of Parks and Rec. Apparently, there was a thing where he's supposed to be like downing an entire tray of ribs while someone's delivering a line because it's supposed to be like background funny. He just really liked the ribs, so he just actually ate them the entire time, and he like went home having eaten like 14 pounds of ribs.
yeah.
Jesus.
He was just like, hey, I can't make it to set the next day.
Yeah, that's why they do the spit bucket.
Oh Jesus Christ. So one thing I've seen a couple times kind of like thrown out here and there, so I thought I'd ask you here is what do you guys use to actually like draw and animate? You know, what sort of softwares do you use? What sort of like, you know, techno gizmos do you guys actually use to create all these fantastic things we like watching?
I just use the Adobe package. I use Photoshop for all my illustrations, and I use Premiere to animate. It's very unconventional, but I find myself continually trying to jury rig Adobe Premiere to be an animation program. It's tricky, but ultimately it's so much faster than just learning a whole new program. Like if I knew where we were now, I probably would have taught myself one, but right now if I took the time to learn an actual animation software, we'd have to halt production for months in order for my skills to catch up. So I just make it work in Premiere.
Yeah. I have never had money to my name, so I use a free program called MediaBang Paint. And this year I did start doing last year I started doing editing on some of the Matrix minis and stuff like that. With that, I use a program called Filmora, which is not as intricate as Premiere. It's a very basic video editing software, but I like it. It's not bad.
Yeah, you do really good work with it. Like, I don't think you'd be able to tell you weren't using like DaVinci or whatever. You make it work.
Thank you. I'm in full honesty, the video that you put up showing how we animated Crochet Sierras in or Commander Crow in and Beyond, you put up a video showing the process of it. When I first started learning editing and stuff, I just kept going back and watching that video over and over again. I'm like, how does he do this?
Oh,
Okay.
sweet. Hey, that's good. Yeah, so I forgot about that video. So if you check out our channel, there'll be like a video called How I Animate Without an Animation Software. I've adapted a little bit more since that video, but essentially it's all the same thing. You move things around, you make nests, then you move those around, then you make a nest, then you export it and import it back in, and just do that forever.
Yeah,
See,
see,
it works.
when I started, I do a couple things online. I started doing gaming content, and I had this really crappy old laptop, and I downloaded an editing software called VideoPad, and to this day, it's the only editing software I'll use because I know how to use it. I can do like all sorts of different stuff on it. I make my audio dramas on it and all sorts of stuff. I got given the code for free by this Australian YouTuber that had me on his channel once, and he managed to get a code for free. So I actually got it's not the premium version, but I didn't have to keep trying to download the free trial over and over again and stuff. And I'm just there I'm not changing it. I'm comfy where I am. Yeah, I know how to use this.
If you're comfortable with the tools you have, I feel like you shouldn't need to have to change it just because other people use other stuff. Or
right.
That's something I've noticed at a lot of just general businesses and sometimes with content creators as well, is when there's a new technology. It's like when a new iPhone comes out. It's a new thing with new features. You have to get it immediately and upgrade. You don't just continue. If you like the work that you're doing and the result of it from the programs you use, just stick with that. You don't have to upgrade. Now, in the instances you want to start doing new types of stuff that you weren't able to before, that's whenever I would start looking into a new program of some kind. But
yeah, I agree. It's funny, I got asked what camera do I use for my reaction videos. I was like, I don't. I use an iPhone 12 that literally is only my camera. I don't like iPhone. I have an Android. And so my iPhone 12 is literally my camera, and that is it. And that's what I use to make my reaction videos because it's got a really good camera on it.
Yeah, honestly, as whatever works and helps you put stuff out there. I feel like a lot of people hold themselves back because they want everything to be perfect and optimal. But honestly, if it's strange to say, but at least when you're first starting out and really trying to get things going, it's better to put out something that's 70% perfect, but it's done, than waiting years and years. So you're now I have the perfect camera, the perfect equipment. You spend all this money, you've invested all these things, and years go by. You haven't even started yet. Whereas you can improve as you go. If you look at early 5 years later or my early videos, there's certainly pieces of work, to put it simply. But had I waited till I had the skills I had now, none of that would even be out yet, and then none of this would have ever happened. So
see, a piece of advice I got given was the videos you're making, if someone else that you watch made that video with the exactly same detail, flaws, etc. that you've done, would you still watch that video? And I'm like, okay, that's actually a pretty decent way of thinking about it.
Right. Yeah, I still have people complain about my webcam in the breakdowns. They're like, oh, it's so grainy. I'm just but you can see and hear me, though, right? I'm sorry that you can't see, the 4K pixels on my skin, but, I mean...
we're breaking down Ben 10. The show originally was in, 720p. Why are you complaining about a camera that's that?
They're like, oh, man, I can't count your eyelashes. Your camera's not good. And it's come on, man.
I want you to look like an early DreamWorks character in the breakdowns, Rob.
Yeah.
A lot of people will get hung up on the tools. They're like, I need all these tools. No, dude, just start. Practice is progress. It's not perfection. Perfection doesn't exist. Just go.
Well, see, because I draw, I'm nowhere near the level you two are. Jesus Christ, no. You did inspire me to make my own art channel, though, where I create Power Rangers and Pokemon and Bent Aliens and things. So I thank you for that. And I use an iPad Pro with Procreate, and over the last year or so, I've kind of picked up on a few tips and tricks on shading and things. So I'm getting better, but I'm happy with that, and that's what I'll do. I just got to transfer it obviously from my iPad to the PC, which is fine. It's just a lead, an extra lead plugged in. It's fine, but that's what I'll do.
Right.
So as we come closer to the end, I just have a few quick fire questions for the pair of you, which both of you can answer. If you had to redesign one of your 5-year labels, it can be an existing alien or an alien you guys created. But if you could redesign one, which alien would you redesign?
Ooh. Oh, that's difficult, actually.
There's a couple I'd want to do some changes on. With Way Big, I'd want his second pair of eyes to point downwards rather than just being right under them. Or if not aliens, then Divinity, his first outfit was a nightmare to draw. so I ended up changing it. But if I ever need to do additional artwork, I'd be like, maybe not do those weird shaped shoulders. But I don't think there's any design that I would like want a complete overhaul from, at least without changing the 5YL design theory. But yeah, I'd say there's some I'm not super happy with, but I'm just gonna let them be what they are.
If I had to change one, in all honesty, I think it would probably be Rattle, because to me, I really wanted to push for a zombie alien when I designed him, but I feel like I made him look too zombie monstery that he doesn't look very much like an alien itself. Like if you line him up with the other Ender aliens, I feel like he sticks out a little bit. If I could go back and like change him up a little bit to fix that, I would.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair statement. I respect that. Okay, so if you could do a fifth installment to the main, like, you know, Ben 10 universe, what sort of show would you do? Would you do a sequel? Would you do a prequel? Would you give someone a spin-off?
Dude, Galactic Road Trip. I still want it.
Fair, that's a fair statement. That'd be a very cool idea. Isn't there actually a point in Ben 10 where he says road trip and they're in space? I'm sure that's actually...
Well, no, that's
it's the last shot.
That is the final shot and final line of the show. Is he's like,
That's
we're going on a road trip, and
So you want to see the actual road trip? But
yeah, that's again with and Beyond. I like exploring the universe and stuff. I think would be super fun.
I'd move us forward a little bit. I'd want to see Ben when he's 18. The first episode could be his birthday, and Azimuth grants him the Master Control, which follows up on Ultimate Alien when he says he'll get it for his 18th birthday, and try to target different perspectives of Ben's life. Like I feel like you can, you know, create any bad guy plot you want to with Ben, but I want to see like, how does he handle being like a symbol to the world? I want to see him build Omnitrix City. I want to see him deal with the fact that he's allegedly destined to marry Kai. I want to see what the repercussions are of people looking up to him and maybe seeing some of like his past mistakes, and how, like, you know, somebody out there could just be like, well, Ben 10 did it, I can do it too. So I want to see more of a personal, like, character deconstruction of Ben in his adult years. And I don't know, bring back, you know, whoever you want, come up with some bad guy. But I want to see the character grow more.
I like that. That'd be kind of cool. Okay, so final Ben 10 themed, you know, before we end it off. Live action Ben 10 has been mentioned several times. A lot of people want it. If you could make a live action Ben 10 that had like a full blown Hollywood movie production money budget behind it, you know, like MCU sort of like level state bullshit, what would you do personally with a live action Ben 10? Would you retell a story? Would you give us something new? How would you do a live action Ben 10?
I'd adapt season 1 of Classic and just highlight all of the Vilgax plots. You know, maybe Rojo can be like the main villain of season 1 and save Vilgax for later. Or like, if you gotta do it all in one movie and, you know, sequels aren't even an issue, just do the Vilgax plot. He shows up, we can have the Tetrax episode weaved in there, the Rojo episode weaved in there, end it with him on the ship. And he has to use all 10 aliens at one point in time.
Yes.
You can't do a Hollywood Ben 10 movie. And he's like, he's Ben 10, but here's 3. Like, we got to do all 10.
Yeah, we would need all of the aliens, dude. Personally, I think it would be fun in the sense of like, if it was guaranteed they would have like a sequel or something. I do think having the first movie be something along the lines of like the first season or so, like it being origin story-ish with one main villain, but then like tease Vilgax towards the end so that the second movie be the more like it's starting to work its way into space type of thing.
Yeah,
Who would you have be the main villain?
Ooh, in all honesty, I think like part of me wants to say Animo, mainly just because I love Animo as a character, and he seems as though he has a little bit of history that they could delve into in a theatrical sense, because he was a scientist and everything, and got like wrong, like he didn't win his award and da da da. Like I feel like they could definitely do something interesting with Animo in a theatrical sense.
Yeah, I
can
can
see
see
that.
Animo. I can see Animo. Yeah, Animo's a good choice. So my last actual question to you guys is, if anybody wants to kind of take a step in your shoes and, you know, do artwork or make YouTube content like you guys do, what sort of advice would you give someone that literally has to start from scratch, does not know what they're doing, you know, sort of thing? What sort of advice can you give to someone?
I would just follow up on what I said earlier. Is just put something out there. You know, the way I see it is like nobody can ever see inside your head. They won't know what you're going for. They can only see what you put there. Like if you're thinking of a square and you draw a circle, people are just going to see a circle. You can't go like, oh, but it's supposed to be a square, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
put it out there. Let it be imperfect. Let it be whatever it is. Take the criticism and learn from it. It's you just got to get the ball rolling somehow, especially in this day and age with like basically more than half of the world is competing for your attention on social media, on YouTube, on streaming services. So whatever it is, you just got to do something and learn as you go, and you'll find your way. But most importantly, you got to listen to how people respond to your information. You can always disregard criticism, and sometimes people are trolling, but hey, if people are responding to things one way or not responding to something else, just adapt and keep going. But don't wait. That's my best advice I can give is don't wait.
Yeah, I can agree with that one. If I would give like a separate one, at least in my own personal experience with doing content creation and art in general, is don't overwhelm yourself, because even in the sense of like if you get a following online and you'll start to feel a little bit of pressure of like, oh, this audience has expectations and you want to fulfill them and everything. You can't let that overwhelm you sometimes though, because then ultimately you could be sabotaging yourself as someone who has experience with like years and years of insomnia and health issue. Like you gotta, it is cool and fun to be able to make this content, but you have to have a balance with taking care of yourself. Like put all you can into a project, but don't put everything you are into it, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah, and just having a good feel of what you're making too. Like if you're like, oh, I'm gonna draw 100 pages by the end of the year, like visualize and be like, okay, well, how long does it take to make one page, and then multiply that by 100, and then schedule out your free time. Like you gotta have a good schedule too. You gotta know what your capabilities are, know your limits, and plan accordingly.
I love everything that both you just said. I think that's some really good advice there. And I've been making content since I was 17. I turned 27 in August, and I've had ups and downs, and I've had YouTube channels been deleted. I've had YouTube channels been hacked into, and all sorts of stuff. And I feel like the people I know who want to start making content and stuff, what you both said, they need to hear of that sort of thing, if you get my meaning. I honestly truly respect that. But yeah, thank you both for coming onto the podcast. You're both very busy, as we've discussed. Thank you very much for taking your time. Maybe in like the next year or so, I'd love to have you both back on and see how things progressed and how much you guys have done in the next year or something, if you're both willing to do that. And then before I let both you go, I do just want to say that myself personally, and I'm sure there are others out there, I didn't have a single friend until I was 16. I didn't have a single friend. YouTube was my friend. YouTubers that I watched were like, the people that I gelled with, and the ink tank is included in that growing up. You guys were always the people I could go to and watch when, when things went wrong with my son, or when life decided just to kick me in the nads and I was on the floor, or when I was in my happiest times. You guys have always been just a stagnant in my life that I can go to, and I can just relax and just enjoy. And I just want to thank you both for that, because you both are included in that, and I'm sure a lot of other people can kind of relate to that too. So I just want to thank you for everything you guys have given us, the time and attention, and like we've discussed, you guys do a fucking lot too. So I just want to thank you very much for.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here. I feel like we had a really good discussion today, and I'm thankful that our content is able to provide that comfort for you. It's certainly something that's important, is finding any form of stability in life. You know, Ben 10 was that for me. So, you know, if people are able to log on and see our stuff, and it gives them some sort of anchor in the world, that's truly why we're doing it. Just trying to keep people together and, you know, build a nice place for people to nerd out and have a good time.
Mhm.
And then very last thing, if people want to check out, you know, your social medias, where can people find you?
We have a link tree on just about all of our channels, so if you could find us at least somewhere, if you click on the link tree, you'll find us everywhere. We're on Twitter, Blue Sky, Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, Webtoon, Discord, YouTube. If you search the Ink Tank, you'll find us somewhere. I feel like we're not hiding too well.
It's also a very unique name, so like everyone's gonna kind of like. I think if you search Ink Tank, I think one of your YouTube channel videos is actually one of the first things that pop up.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah,
Well-
you're very easy to find.
With that too, you can find us at inktank.co, not .com. That will take you to a printer website. It is
The
.co.
Ink Tank.
Yeah, the inktank.co.
Yeah.
I love the fact you had to go .com takes you to a printer. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. What a note to leave the podcast episode on. That is fantastic. Well, thank you both for coming on. Like I said, it's been an absolute blast. I have been a giddy little schoolgirl the last week, knowing for a fact that you guys are going to come on. Yeah, it's been an absolute blast. This is honestly like a dream come true for me. I've tried reaching out a couple times, and you know, over the last year or so, and I understand, you know, lives happen and things, and as soon as Kuro was like, yeah, hit me up on an email, I was like, oh my god. Like I literally freaked out. I showed my wife and she's like, isn't that the Ben 10 guy you watch? I was like, yeah.
That's
so yeah,
awesome.
thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Of course, if you're listening to us on the podcast platforms, don't give us a follow and rating and all that stuff. I still don't understand how the podcast platforms work. If you're listening to us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, of course. Check out the Ink Tank. They're an absolute blast, especially if you're a fan of Ben 10 and like artwork videos and stuff. You'll find something there for you. And of course, roar of passion, everybody. I love you all, and we shall check you guys out in the next one.